Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to the Toon Review with me and Billy Bob. Tonight we are talking fantasy football, as well as a bit about Newcastle United. We'll obviously, if some news pops up, we'll discuss it. But tonight is all about setting our teams up. I've already done mine. Billy refuses until he's leaving it as late as he can to see who comes in, who disappears, things like that. But you're allowed to do as many transfers as you want, I think, before the season kicks off. So I've set mine up and I'll show you mine very, very soon. If you are interested in joining the Toon Review Championship for this coming season, it is pinned right at the top of the chat. Just click on that. It includes the code to join. We've had an absolute massive influx already of people joining the league. It is impressive to say the least. There is quite a few already joined up to the Toon Review Championship, which is absolutely superb. I can see some very, very, very known names already joined up. Well, I mean, there's hundreds, Billy, already, which I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing for us that, normally spend our time during these fantasy football leagues right at the bottom.
Yeah, the more there is, the less chance there is of finishing down the bottom, I guess. I started last season horrendously. The first thing you've got to do is once you get behind, it's hard to pick back up because all the good players, all the top people usually have. So, it's hard to catch up. So you've got to have a good start. And this is where I've delayed my team a little bit.
I mean, look, last season we did it. We set it up. We did a few shows after that, and it sort of dried off. This season is going to be different because we're going to have prizes for first, second, and third. We're going to do a show once a week. We're going to get some of you guys on to the fantasy football shows as well. Those of you that are maybe doing better than everybody else, telling us what the secrets are and how to actually do this fantasy football thing. Because Billy went into last season in full spirits. That soon became literally drinking spirits to soften the blow. Me as well. I mean, listen, I've set my team up here thinking the world beaters. This squad that I've assembled for fantasy football, I think it's it's up there. But I know for a fact that 3 or 4 weeks into the season, I'll be looking at it going, what the hell have I done wrong? But there's always that surprise player, Billy, isn't there? Or players that nobody picks that will suddenly generate a lot of points.
Yeah, you could get one of the promoted teams do really well, and one of their players might be shining, whether it be goalkeeper or whatever. You just don't know. But you are looking for value for money, and sometimes if you want to fill your side with superstars, you just can't do it because obviously there's a limited amount of money you can spend. So, yeah, and three players per club also, so you can't just have all Man City players or all Liverpool players and Newcastle United players.
Which happened to me twice when I was setting this one up. It is difficult because you're putting players in, and then you realise. I mean, a lot of people tend to go from goalkeeper and finish off with the strikers, but you've got to mix it up a little bit. I've noticed over time of doing these things that sometimes when you actually select your team, if you go from front or back to front, by the time you get to the front men, you look at your money and you think, shit, I've got no money left. So you have to go back in and change it around a little bit, and it's not easy to do. I mean, what would you suggest, Billy? I mean, I've done it differently this time. I've looked at the goalkeepers, but I've then I've done some strikers and some midfield. I've mixed it up a little bit, and it so happens that doing it that way, I managed to get Haaland in at the end.
Well, I think the strikers obviously the most expensive players on the game. They're the players that will create the most points. So I'm going to start with strikers this year. I've always gone with the goalkeeper and work forward. This year I'm going to start with striker and work backwards. and hopefully leave myself a nice little goalkeeper at the end. But I've got 4 or 5 teams that I want to get my players from, and really no one outside that. But that's how I'm going to work it this year, do it differently.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can't see each other's teams until the league actually kicks off. So I've got no idea who everybody's picked that's in the league this season. It's going to be interesting. Haaland, I can tell you, is 14 million. You get 100 million to spend. Haaland is 14 million, and I managed to have 14 at the end of it. I mean, I spent a little bit of time, doing this team. I have to say, I really did. I was itching to get started. Has it come up there, Billy?
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah.
Right. So I will show you my team. I mean, it's gone for a 4-4-2. I will adjust this before the start of the season, of course. Goalkeepers, I've got Ramsdale and Edison. Defenders, I've gone for Trippier, Martinez, Robertson, Mings, and Zinchenko. Midfield, Tonali, Szoboszlai, Eze, Odegaard, and Bruno. And 3 strikers so far, I've gone for João Pedro, who I think, Billy, might have a good season after a signing from Watford. Brighton have been crying out for a striker. And Kunku, obviously, new signing for Chelsea. And Haaland.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good from as far as I can see.
Because I think it's important as well, Billy, that we have to tell people that, and I discovered this last season, of course, was even the defenders, you've got to try and get maybe defenders in who are going to, score points both for defending, but mainly attacking wise as well. That will get assists. Now, I'm not saying that Mings and Martinez will, but they probably will have good seasons defensively. Robertson, we know, gets forward, as does Trippier. So that's why I put them in.
The defender, if he is down as a defender, I think he would be. That's an obvious pick to everyone because of the amount of assists and goals he scores. I'll say no more than that.
Well, it's going to be Trent, isn't it?
Obviously.
But the thing is with Trent, I mean, I think exactly what you've just said there, Billy, is exactly what's happening on the system because he's down as a defender, but he's 8 million quid. So he's up there. He's more than Van Dijk, etc. He's more than the guys that I've got on there. I think Martinez was only 6 million, and he's, let's be honest, he's an all right centre back, even though he plays for the scum. But Mings had a very good end to last season, and I think he'll get better this season under Emery. So I think defensively wise, and I think 2 goalkeepers of Ramsdale and Edison, I can't really go wrong with them.
I wouldn't have 2 quality goalkeepers. I'd save money on one of the goalkeepers, if I'm perfectly honest. Because you're not going to play both of them, yeah. You can't play both of them. So,
but Billy, they're only 5 million each.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what you're saying, but I think, well, I don't know. I mean, I had to put Tonali in. I just simply had to because I think he will get points this season. Szoboszlai.
How much is Tonali?
Sorry?
How much does Tonali cost? What's his
How much? Well, let me just pop back to the. I'll have a quick look. Well, it'll tell us if I click on him. One, it should do.
Yeah.
5.5 mil.
Well, that's a bargain, isn't it?
Yeah, it is because I think they've put him at that price because I don't think they know what to expect from him this season. Because he's new to the league. They don't know how he's going to perform. So they've put him kind of 5.5, which I think is remarkably cheap. Really, really cheap for him.
Yeah.
Szoboszlai, I think I paid 7 for him. 7 million for Szoboszlai. So obviously, they know a bit that he's more attacking, I think, and he's up there in the 7s. But Eze, I think, Billy, is 6.5 million. So he's 1 million more than what Tonali was. But 159 points last season. You've got to say he's going to do the same this season. Yeah,
I mean, he's well priced again. Lots of assists. I'll be looking at people like that, cheapish players, and then you got to get the expensive players in. You got to have Haaland in. Absolutely, that's the mistake I made last year. I didn't have Haaland from the beginning. I went with Harry Kane and didn't work.
Now, obviously, I've put Odegaard in there. I managed to get Odegaard in as well, which I think, 212 points last season, £8.5 million. But if you look at the stats for last season, he's a point scorer, this guy. And both defensively and attacking, he can do a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got him into the side just before Christmas last year, and massive points. Mm.
And of course, Billy, you're famous for putting people in that are on form, and of course getting injured, which happened a lot last season. I remember, you put Salah in, and then Salah got injured, and then he came back. You left him out. He started scoring goals. You put him back in. He got injured. It was quite funny. Not for you, obviously. Now, obviously, there's Bruno as well. £6 million for Bruno. I mean, look, you're getting Tonali and Bruno for like 6 million and 5.5 million. I mean, for midfielders of that talent, is quite incredible.
Yeah, I mean, again, both contribute assists. The odd goal from Bruno too. So yeah, worthwhile signing Bruno and Tonali without a doubt.
Now, I spoke about this guy, Billy, João Pedro, because obviously he's just signed for Brighton, but he's only £5.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at his previous season in the Premier League, which was 21-22, he still managed 60 points. And he only scored 3 goals and 1 assist. So, there's a possibility here that this guy, he is going to be Brighton's first choice striker. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The money they've paid for him, etc. So he could be a little bit of a dark horse.
Yeah, Brighton last year, their team was stacked with points, wasn't it? I mean, I had Matoma in the side from Christmas onwards. Again, scored stacks of goals and assists, loads of points, and hence how it did so well second half of the season. But yeah, well, Pedro, how much was he again? Did you say $5.5 million?
5.5, yeah.
That's a fantastic price for a side that's playing in Europe this year, and yeah, he could be value for money in.
Now there's Nkunku as well, Billy. He was 7.5 million. Very sort of, I guess, in the middle price for a striker, but they don't know. I guess the same. They don't know what to price this guy because he's brand new to the Premier League, isn't he? So. I'm expecting big things from Nkunku under Poch this season, though.
The only thing I think with Chelsea is they've got that many players. How rotational are they going to be, and how much are they going to play each?
Yeah.
It's different with Chelsea. They've got no European football, so they can literally play 2 different sides week in, week out. That's the only gamble you've got with Chelsea players, and I'd be a bit hesitant as to looking at them players up here. They're going to have a good season, I think.
Well, there's Haaland. £14 million, 272 points last season. Obviously, absolutely flying. He got 40 bonus points as well. I mean, 7.8 points per match, Billy. It's staggering.
Outrageous. It was outrageous. I didn't get him in the side after the World Cup. Really. Will he have a second season syndrome, though? Sometimes players do that. It's a lot of money, but I think it's money well spent, if I'm perfectly honest. Yeah,
I'm not so sure it's one season, a second season syndrome will happen to him, Billy, to be quite honest. I'm not expecting that. But what I am expecting is my team to score some points. Now, I'm not saying that is going to be my team come the 12th of August, it's the 11th, isn't it? Because there's a Friday night kickoff. So I think it's around 6 p.m. on the 11th of August. You have to have your team in. I'm not saying for 1 second that my team is going to look like that. It may change numerous times depending on, there is going to be signings made by Newcastle or other clubs as well in the Premier League. So it's going to be chop and change quite a lot, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. The transfer window goes all at the end of August. There's going to be lots of signings coming into the different clubs before the season starts. So this is why I'm holding off a little bit. I might do it tomorrow. I've got a day tomorrow to myself, so I might just have a look.
Well, I was going to say, Billy, we do have a watch-along tomorrow.
So we do, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know whether you want to join me for that. 12:30 kickoff.
I can do. It's my birthday as well, so.
Hey, well, there you kept that quiet, by the way.
And my son's 18th too.
Wow. Well, we will celebrate, hopefully, with a good performance in the friendly tomorrow. But we go live at 12:15, lunchtime. And it'll be very interesting to see Newcastle United in action tomorrow. of course, at Gateshead. Now, as well, Billy, just moving away from fantasy for a second, Tonali, etc., are back with the side, as is Bruno. What do you think the chances are of them taking part tomorrow?
Ooh, I don't know. Minimal, I'd say.
Yeah.
For a non-league game, if I'm perfectly honest, I think you might see one or two of the fringe players playing, but I imagine it'll be a reserve side mainly to play against a non-league side, really. Although there will be people there to see the stars, so you don't know. Yeah, it'd be terrible if we had to put our stars out and one got injured against Gateshead.
Well, look, I mean, it's always a risk getting injuries, isn't it? I mean, we say that every year, do we want to risk them and things like that? But, I mean, look, I think it's about 12,000 Newcastle fans going to be there tomorrow. Gateshead Stadium can hold a decent amount, I think, because it seats all the way around. But obviously for their home games, it's just normally the main stand that's open because of the size of the stadium. But I'm expecting... I don't know. I think it might be a bit half and half. And obviously, there's going to be, as there is whenever these games are played, there will be changes made. But I think it's going to be good to just get back into the watch-alongs again, get back into watching Newcastle. I'm looking forward to it. Gallagher Brown, thank you for being a member for 12 months. He says, a year since I've been a member. Where's that gone? What an investment, by the way. Cheers for the content, peeps. Thank you very much to you for being a subscriber, a member for a year. Really do appreciate that support you are giving the channel. Irani Granny says, are you going to run a cup as well as a league? Yes, there is a cup included. So whenever they decide to do the cup, there will be a cup as well. There was an option, Billy, to do like a head-to-head, like a league system, where you play somebody else on a round-robin basis. But I think doing it that way, kind of, you don't get all the perks of fantasy football, and it's very difficult because if anyone comes in late, you're not allowed to add them to the league. Whereas this one, just a normal fantasy football league, if you come in a couple of weeks late, you can still join the league. Whereas, the head-to-head one, it basically from 6 p.m. on the Friday night, that's it. No more people in the league. And we don't really want it like that. Julie Dorset Bell says, cool, how good is that? Think I'm in there. Well, my name is. Well, there you go. Well, listen, we'll put the names on the screen just to show you who's actually signed up for the Toon Review Championship so far. I'll run through it slowly. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it on the screen.
Very small.
I think it's readable. I think they can read it. I can't zoom it, unfortunately. Oh, I can. Oh, well, there you go. Hang on. I've zoomed it, so I'm just waiting to see what it looks like on YouTube. There we go. So we'll just zoom out a little bit more. There we go. So, just waiting for it to expand again. There you go. So that's better. So we got Luke Peters, Terry Cassidy, Jamie Murray, Callie Jordan, Kai Hales, Santo F, David Eccleston, Sean Rule, David Sawley, Sam Chipperfield, Ashley, Matthew Watson, Dave Kelly, Warren Orton, Jim Pov, Rachel Lilly, Harry Johnson, Tom Lynch, Julie J, David D, Ian Casey, Jeffrey Johansson, George Ricard, Peter Wright, Calvin Moffat, Alan Reed, Shane Henry, Matt Thompson, Aaron Martin, Kevin Riddick, Christopher Maguire, Michael Caine's in there, Billy.
Wow, not a lot of people knew that.
Well, I hope he doesn't blow the bloody doors off. Steve Modlin, Ronald Wood, Paul Sly, David Lewis, Liam Rayner. Do you want to read that one, Billy?
Abdulaziz. I can't say the second name. I'm sorry, but
Al Khalifa. I reckon it's Al Khalifa. I think that's sorry. Anyway, Ian Pearson, Ian Christensen, Billy Borradale, Mark King, Asley Hansen, Nathan Stapleton, Joshua Williamson, Mason Ford, a Woodland, Sean Ferris, Ian Boyer, Richie Cooper. Where we at? We've got more names here. We've got Nathan Stapleton, Joshua Williamson, Mason Ford. I'm just repeating them. James Shorter, Shane Martin, Dan Corrigan, Andrew Sinden, Connor Major, James Pope, Tony James, Cameron Shaw, Stephen Roach, David Sewell, Ryan Milroy, Norman Laws, Jack Cook, the King of Qatar's in there's the Persian Geordies, Christopher Ray, Julie Bell, Tim Horan, Joe Bentley, Claire Durant, Matt Davies, Andrew Cullen, Steve Mallam, Peter Mitchell, Terry Cook, Douglas Horn, Matthew Egan, Jordan Weldon, Shane Swanston, Carl Lambert, Andy Kelly, Brandon Green, Jason Scott, Stephen Gray, Kieran Wennington. That is the last time I'll be reading the names out, by the way, because it'll be grown and grown and grown. I will just...
And now he's cut himself off from the actual stream. There you go. Reading all those names must have knackered him up. So we'll do a few comments until he saws himself back in.
I swiped a bit too far, but it's that old two-finger swipe on the mouse. It just deserted me for a second there. Yeah. Anyway, lots of happy birthdays coming in for you and your lad, Billy. As you can see in the chat there. Steve says, damn, daughter has missed the last bus home from work, so I'll be off out to fetch her. Guess I'll catch up later. Well, I just dropped my son and my mum off in Durham. They're going to a show tonight. And of course, the Durham 5K runs on as well. So, and loads of road work. So literally didn't think I was going to get back in time to do the show, but I did. Good evening, Japadoni. Arturo says Newcastle have the best fan base in England. Absolutely. Arani Granny says 21 again, Billy.
Not far off it.
Yeah. Mason says Gateshead dominated Sunderland for the first half an hour last week, even with Sunderland having Bellingham in the starting lineup. Yeah, well, it's Joby. He's not as good as his brother. I mean, he might end up being as good as his brother, but listen, it's very early days for everybody. Lisa's nice to see all the money going to Gateshead to help them for the future. Well, we think it is. I mean, this $9.99, Billy, that you've got to pay to stream it, it's kind of... Are the National League taking that money, or is it going to Gateshead? Newcastle have already said that all the revenue generated from our ticket sales, etc., is going to Gateshead. But I think there's a bit of mystery going on as to who else is getting the money for this revenue.
I wouldn't be surprised if the National League are taking the money from their streaming service, if I'm honest. But fair play to the club for allowing Gateshead to pocket all the game seats. Fantastic gesture.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I think it's going to be probably one of the best atmospheres that Gateshead Stadium has seen in a very long time, even though it's just a friendly. It's the first game of the season, and football is back, whether it be a friendly or not. And we know what our fans are like, and etc. Rob says, "How do I join, please?" All you do, Rob, there's a link right at the top of the chat right now. Go and click on that because it includes the code to join the league. So just click on that, set your team up, and you will be in the league already. So it's as easy as that. Very, very simple to join up. If you do have any problems, then do let us know. People are just saying, "Oh dear," and "Goodbye, Paul." I just flicked the wrong button. Jim says, my team says change name as they didn't accept my entry. All I had was boobies make me smile. I'll come up with another. Yeah, I don't think you get away with that one somehow, Jim, but keep trying, buddy. Keep trying. Rochi says he feels famous having his name called out. Hey, and listen, I read them out as best I could as well. Mr. Spoons, Ian, we will get you on, buddy, very shortly on the show in the next few days, because I know we need to promote that raffle that you're doing, matey. So I haven't forgotten. Don't worry. Just been a bit of a stressful week, obviously. We have a new member, and that is Taz Music 1101. Thank you very much for signing up, buddy, and welcome to the Toon Review family. Geordie Lad says, is it me or is it very laggy? It's you. Definitely not laggy. It's certainly not laggy on what I'm watching either. Creative JB says, what's the code? It's built into the link. It is built into the link right at the top of the chat. Just click that and that will put you straight in there. Julie J, isn't Tonali having a holiday? No, he's back. He was back today, I believe. So he is back. Bruno's back. They're all, Joe Linton's back. Everybody's back and ready to go, Julie. Well, I don't think Tonali will be ready to go, but you know what it is. You never know. Cramlington Wanderer says, I heard that Gateshead will get a small amount. The rest goes to the National League. Interesting. I always worry when my phone pings and it's Mrs. Toon Review because I keep... she's right. Billy?
Yeah.
Will you just talk for 5 minutes while I change the internet over?
That's what's laggy. Where did you get to here on these comments? Got some people that are putting provisional teams in. So, yeah, it's... Rachel says, I'll pick the players I wanted and split the money between the rest. That's probably the best way of doing it, you know. And
I'm
Tom
back.
says, okay. That's why it was laggy, probably.
Yeah. Well, you're normally my alarm clock for that, Billy. Before we start, I always get are you on the right internet, Paul, before we get going? And you didn't. I'm blaming you. It's all to do with passing the buck on to Billy for, that little bit of a problem there. Now, is there any players, Billy, that you've got your eye on that you maybe want to bring into to your fantasy football team? Because we'll have a look at them.
There's a couple of potentials that might.
Let's start with goalkeepers. I mean, which goalkeepers are you particularly interested in?
Last season, I picked Nick Pope, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, he's at £5.5 million. And
are we expecting Newcastle to be as good defensively this year as last year?
Well, I'd say it depends if we get a left back, buddy. To be honest, I think that's
exactly. I think there might be a cheap option coming, although he hasn't signed yet, and that would be Trafford at Burnley if he does sign. I think that's pretty much going to go ahead. I think James Trafford at Burnley will be an excellent goalkeeper, but is he going to keep many clean sheets? That's the question you've got to ask yourself.
Well, Pope's $5.5 million. He got 157 points last season, third highest goalkeeper in the league.
Yeah. It was, as I say, him and David Raya were my two goalkeepers last year. Raya was much cheaper. Yeah. I expect he'll be dearer this year.
No, he's only $5 million, Billy. Raya was the top goalkeeper in the Fantasy Premier League last season with 166 points. Yeah. So, yeah. Second at the moment is these are basically based on the points they got last season. Second was Alisson at Liverpool. He's going for 5.5. I think 5.5 is probably the top price for a goalkeeper in the fantasy league. Obviously, Nick Pope was third. Jose Sarv, Wolves, was third, Billy. Fourth with 148 points.
Yeah, so I mean, are we expecting Wolves to not concede many goals this year? I'm not sure. I think they could be in trouble this year, Wolves, if I'm perfectly honest. Relegation.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, absolutely. Then came Ramsdale. Then came Leno at Fulham. Martinez at Villa after that. Fabianski and Pickford. Edison, he only got 121 points. I didn't actually realise that when I've put him in. I may change that. I mean, that's
you think of Man City. You think of Man City. You think of all the creative players you got. I think if you have Man City, I mean, everyone's going to have 3 Man City players in this side, or should do. Do you have them at the back? Would you have them further forward? I'd have them further forward personally. But
is Edison's points low because he just simply didn't have that much to do, rather than the other goalkeepers, like Raya, etc., having more to do?
We get points for clean sheets, so he must have had something to do. He must have been letting goals in. I mean, I think Manchester United have the most clean sheets. So I mean, where was De Gea? De Gea must have been quite well there.
Wow. I mean, De Gea. Where is De Gea? Jesus. I wonder, they've took De Gea out, Billy, because obviously he's not there now, is he?
Of course he ain't. No,
so,
he's not in the league anymore.
Yeah, he's gone. So he won't be there. How about defenders, though, Billy? Anyone you're thinking, I might stick him in this season?
I'm going to be definitely picking Trent. I think, I know £8 million is a lot for defender, but I don't know the goals he creates. It's the assists you get from him. And I think Liverpool will be better this year.
The next defender down is literally $1.5 million cheaper. But Kieran Trippier was the best defender in fantasy football last season, points-wise, 198, miles ahead of anybody else, which is incredible. So obviously I've stuck him in my squad. But then interesting was White at Arsenal. He was second, joint point scorer with Trent on 156 points.
I mean, Arsenal have made some signings in the back, haven't they, this year? So, again, you've got to try and pick the players that you think are going to get picked week in, week out. It's not easy. selecting the right ones, because a lot of these top sides will be rotating, which is, again, something else you've got to feather into it.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting as well, though, Billy. Our back four are all in the top 10 for last season,
Wow.
which is incredible. You've got Trippier at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 was Fabian Schär on 139 points. 8 was Sven Botman, and 9 was Dan Burn. They both got 129. So that just, again, goes to show you how good our defence was last season.
It was. Trippier was top of that defensive list, despite he must have had 7 or 8 yellow cards last year. He seemed to get booked quite a lot towards the end of the season.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
He lose points for that, so yeah.
I mean, Ben Mee's there as well from Brentford. Tyrone Mings is also in the top 10. So I've got Mings in this time around. I just think Mings might improve over, with Emery being there and the things that are happening at Villa at the minute. I think they're going to have a decent season, to be honest.
I think they'll have a good season, but they've signed 2 centre-halves, haven't they? So will Mings play week in, week out? Pau Torres is a surgery to play. I think he might get caught out in the Premiership. I think it's a tad slow. And I think if he plays Mings and Pau Torres together, Pau Torres, how you pronounce it, Paul Torres, I don't think you're playing both together. So we shall see. We shall see.
Interesting. Sean McEwen, thank you very much for signing up to Members Club, matey. Very kind. Thank you for your continued support moving forward. And you are going to be in the draw. I think we'll do a draw on Sunday night, Billy, a members draw. I think we'll do one for a couple of prizes. Dave Bullman says, Trippier right back, spot on, Billy. Man City players, especially midfielders, get rotated a lot. Julie says she wanted to put Foden in, but not enough room for him, but got her so many points last season. Interesting. I mean, we'll take a look at the midfielders now, because obviously people are looking at De Bruyne, Grealish, etc. But the main point scorer from midfield last season was your mate Salah.
Yeah, it came good in the end, I must be honest.
Yeah, 239 points Salah got last season, and he's currently valued at 12.5 million for this coming season. Then came Odegaard. Rashford, incidentally, is down as a midfielder. He was 3rd, Saka 4th, Martinelli 5th. So you've got 3 Arsenal players in the top 5. Then came De Bruyne, who, by the way, is he's got a 50% chance of making the first game. He's got a hamstring injury, apparently, according to this. Then you've got Teeth Fernandez from Manchester United. Pascal Gross, who I know you're a big fan of him, Billy. 159 points for Brighton last season.
Yeah, very workmanlike players, gets goals quite often. I mean, if we sign, Harvey Barnes, he's not in there yet, is he? Because he's not in the Premiership, but he'll be one to look for because he scores goals from midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Foden was quite a way down the list, but he did get 142 points for Manchester City. Interestingly enough, next one down from him on 140 points is Alexis McAllister. Then Matoma, who you put in late on. James Maddison, only 135 points last season, but suddenly valued at 7.5 million for this current season.
James Maddison, by the way, Peter Graves put an article out today about James Maddison, just basically saying what I was saying all along, that he was desperate to join Newcastle United, which I knew anyway. Which I would have told you all anyway. Local knowledge.
I mean, desperate to join Newcastle. Is it just because Newcastle didn't put a bid in?
Obviously, Spurs has offered a lot more money, and it's his last big move, and that's kind of tainted him that way. But he was desperate to join us, and was for a long, long time.
Damn it. Riyad Mahrez is way down the list as well, Billy. 126 points. But it's like you were saying, because Man City rotates so much, it's very difficult to keep them in.
I think you might see more of Cole Palmer this year, and what a hell of a player he's going to be, by the way. He might be worth I don't know how much he is, if he's even on the list, but he won't be a lot of money. If you want to waste a Man City player on someone that might not play very often, but when he does, he'll do things. Yeah, it'll be an interesting one to look at.
Brian says, evening, guys. I've clicked the link 3 times, but the TTR one isn't coming up to choose league to join. I've logged out and back in, but only Premier League comes up. Can anybody give him some help there? Because obviously everybody signed up quite easily with that link, so I don't know why Brian's having a problem there, but it's interesting. Ian says, my Tommy reckons he's going to destroy you, Paul, so the challenge is on. Tommy, bring it on. Bring it on. I need that motivation to kick me into gear and make sure that my fantasy team is right up there and challenging. I say that and I've woke up and fell in me cornflakes, to be honest. Not really looking forward to it. Darren says, it's very hard to pick a team. Wish I could put all the best players in. I've had to change it around loads of times. Yeah, I think the main thing is, Billy, is don't just put a squad in and for any old sake. You've got time to take your time with it, haven't you?
Oh, definitely. You've got another 2 or 3 weeks yet. I've not even picked mine today. I'm trying to create an account now to start it again, but it's not letting me do it for some reason. Really strange. Yeah, you've got 2 or 3 weeks to sort that out. There's players to come in yet. It's not essential you get it straight away. But as Paul says, if you do want to do it now, you can make as many changes you want before the season starts. So
yeah. Well, I remember doing that last season, Billy, and thinking, oh wow, there's no restriction on making any changes. I can just go in and change my squad and of course I did it a couple of weeks later after the season had started, and I didn't realize it nearly wiped me of all my points. So you've got to be careful. Make sure you get all the changes you want to get in before the season kicks off. And then obviously just use transfers at a little pinch every now and again, because it does take a whacking load of points off you. Jane French, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much for you support and joining up to the membership. Really appreciate that, Jane, and welcome to the family. Tom says, when you click the link, it takes you into the league page on the Fantasy Football site. Yeah, it does. It should take you straight to that league. The link works fine. Brian will need to sign up to the FPL first and create the team, then click the link. Right, okay, there you go. I clicked the TTR Twitter link and it didn't mention TTR until I'd finished. Yeah, but you got to build your team first. You can't go into a league if you haven't got a team. You know what I mean? So there you go. Night and Eat Gaming says, use the link in the Discord. It takes you straight to the correct one. That link is exactly the same as what's in the chat. So just don't worry. Just don't worry. Right, strikers, Bilbo. Who is it you wanting up front for your fantasy team?
Well, first, this is the mistake I made last year. It's got to be Haaland. Haaland's got to be the first name on everyone's team sheet. And I might make the league a bit boring, but last year I didn't do it. I thought I'll try and steal a march. I had Harry Kane instead, and he was shot for the first 6 weeks. And Haaland scored about 50 million goals. So I was beyond the 8 ball before the season really started. And yeah, you got to get Haaland in because he will hit the ground running. He hits the ground running every week. So he's a definitely for every team.
Yeah, of course, we don't know if Harry Kane's going to stay at Tottenham. I think he will. I think he's going to be at Tottenham next season. But he's second in the list last season on 263 points. So literally 9 points behind Haaland. He's £12.5 million. If you're interested in bringing Ivan Toney in at a later date to your side, he's 8 million. And he did get 100. He was third last season on 182 points. If you're wondering about Newcastle strikers, Callum Wilson finished 5th last season with 157 points. He is £8 million this year. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Isak finished 12th with 100 points. But of course, you've got to remember, he missed a lot of the season early doors, did Isak, and he's at £7.5 million. But there's a lot of decent strikers this season, Billy, and it's going to be difficult to pick a three. I
think Isak at £7.5 million is fantastic value. I've got to say, I really do. I think he'll have a fantastic season this year, and Isak will definitely be in my squad. Another strikers. The Liverpool lot ain't going to be as bad this year. Nunez is probably going to be a much better player this year. And I bet he's dear.
Well, he finished on 100 points last season. He's only £7.5 million, Bill.
That's pretty good value. Pretty good value.
Because when you think that the likes of Isak and Nunez are at £7.5 million, and then you've got Danny Ings and Welbeck at 6, only £1.5 million less than what Isak and Darwin Nunez would cost. Cody Gakpo's at £7.5 million as well. let's see, any sort of Eddie Nketiah, Billy. I don't know how much football we expect him to get at Arsenal next season. 5.5 million.
Have they signed any strikers?
I don't think they have yet, have they?
They've signed Havertz, but they're surely not going to play him as a striker.
Well, that was the theory. He's going to be sort of playing more of as a 10, isn't he?
I just can't see him playing much, Eddie Nketiah. Maybe a bench player, but I think a lot of players, most teams will have 3 Arsenal players in it. And are you going to waste one of them on the bench? I don't know.
Raul Jimenez at Wolves, he's way down there. He only got 29 points last season. £5.5 million. Of course, you've got the option to put João Pedro in this time. 5.5. Zakiri at Brighton as well. £4.5 million. I like the way Lukaku's on this list, Billy. There's no way he's playing for Chelsea this season. Of course, and Kunku's there. And then let's not forget, you've got the Luton lot coming through as well, Billy. And they're kind of an unknown package, are the Luton players. So it's very strange.
I imagine they'll be the cheapest on the game, though. I mean, there's absolutely no way on God's earth that Luton stay up this season, I don't think. I just don't see it happening. I know Kenneth Road will be a hard place to go and play football, but they've not made any signings as far as I can see. I think they're just in for the season and get as much money in so other parachute payments.
Well, I think a lot of their money has obviously been on. Hang on, just bear with us a second, Billy. I'm just going to copy that and then put this onto the screen, just so people can, if they need the actual. I don't want to ticker. I'll take it, but bear with us a second.
I got the creating a banner, are you?
I am. There you go. So the code to join the league is there. If you click the link, but you still need the code, the separate code for the league. There it is on the screen now. Just type that in and that'll take you to the league once you're getting all sorted. Kenzie says, can we actually talk about football now? Kenzie, I don't know whether you've noticed, mate, the thumbnail and the title of this show. It says the Toon Review Fantasy Football League. That is what we're doing on this show. We're not talking about, this is just a step away from football. This is a competition we're running this season, and we're having a show every once a week for this. We know it won't appeal to everybody. There's not like thousands of people going to jump on and go, I want to watch the Fantasy Premier League show. But a lot of people want to join in. A lot of people want to have a bit of fun with it, taking on the hosts, taking on the mods, and seeing where everybody ends up. And that's what it's all about, a bit of fun. So please do read the headings from time to time.
I'll tell you what is an interesting conversation piece, though. I mean, I watched it yesterday on YouTube, which is the Dele Alli interview. Some of the things he went through as a young kid.
Do you know what, Billy? I've totally changed my opinion on Dele Alli now. I give the lad absolute shit, and I feel really bad for it now because you found out what he's gone through, and you could tell, and to be fair to Gary Neville as well, he did that interview brilliantly. Really, really great interviewing by Gary Neville. And, to actually, talk about what he'd been through was genuinely authentic as well. And you saw the pain he was in when he was talking about it. And I think it just makes you realize that maybe, if someone, whether it be football or away from football, isn't necessarily going through a good time, don't jump on the backs, because I think we've made a big mistake there with Dele Alli, and a lot of people are feeling bad about that now after what he's been through. And you can perfectly understand why things have took a turn for the worst for him over the last couple of years. And my hope is now that somebody like Dele Alli, hopefully, and I'm praying that Sean Dyche has watched that and thought, right, I'm going to get this lad in, I'm going to work with this kid, and I'm going to get him back to enjoying playing football as his number one priority, back on the pitch and enjoying himself, Billy. And I think that's a big challenge for Sean Dyche, but I think probably if you're looking at somebody to do it, Sean Dyche is the perfect man to probably get him back to playing football again.
He would be, except he doesn't really fit into any system that Sean Dyche likes to play, does it?
Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, Dele Alli had the world at his feet. 2016, 2017, 2018. It all went downhill for him when Spurs got rid of Poch and they brought Mourinho in, who obviously didn't take Ali, didn't understand Ali, didn't want to really personalise with Ali. You know, really had to go at him on that documentary, the famous "he's lazy, you're lazy" player thing, which he mentioned in the interview. I'd like to see him move on somewhere, and maybe a move to Chelsea would suit him. You know,
look, I think the way he spoke about Pochettino, especially in that interview, was very, very forceful for me. That maybe Dele Alli's given a sort of message to Poch saying, "Please come and get me. You know, rescue my career, do something with me." Because he spoke very highly of Poch, not just as a manager, but as a mentor, as a friend, as that guidance, and that's why he was able to get the best out of him on the football pitch, because of what he was like on a man-to-man basis. Interestingly, though, he didn't blame Mourinho. He made a point of coming out and saying that as well, that he didn't blame Jose Mourinho for any of it either, which was a big statement to make. So, listen, I just hope. I mean, look, I'm going to be doing a video in the next few weeks. I don't know whether you can remember, Billy. I did a video many moons ago about my mental health and stuff like that, and what I'd been through. I'm going to kind of redo that video again because, you know, we've had thousands more subscribe to the channel and stuff like that. And I feel that, you know, if people know what other people have been through, they can, and like Dele Alli said, you know, if something you can come out with inspires just one person to change their life around, then, you know, it'll be fantastic. And I think it's given inspiration to everyone else who has been through stuff to maybe come out and say something else again and just try and help people.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, some of the stuff he went through as a child was, being hung from a bridge at the age of 11, selling drugs at the age of 8, you know, and his mother was an alcoholic. He doesn't blame anyone but himself, which is, you know, it's the first kind of step back, I guess. But someone does get hold of him now, and they get him in his right frame of mind. Hopefully, after all this rehab he's been through, they're going to get a hell of a player because the lad's only 27. You know, and we've seen him how well he's played in the past. If Everton can get him in this side, they're going to be a lot better for it. And, you know, the price they paid for him is chicken feed, really, for what he could be worth.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, he's now had that weight lifted off his shoulders, that people know what he's been through, people know where he's at in his life now, and it's about just building it again, getting back to. He'd probably never get back to where he was, but if he can get back to somewhere like he was, then he'll have come a long, long way. And obviously his talent's still there. And whoever is going to be his manager is got a big job on, but they need to sort of take him. They need to take different sort of steps with him than they would with maybe some other players. But time will tell on Dele Alli. And an interesting thing about the sleeping pills as well. When I played ice hockey, there were, you know, it was the first thing that the physios or the doctors, you know, if you had an injury or something like that, you were given sleeping pills to try and rest up, you know, and try and get a good night's sleep. And I know a couple of lads who got hooked on them. And they are very, very dangerous, Billy.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's it. You get used to them, and you have to have them to sleep then. And then you get past the point where they don't work, and you're taking them more and more to try and get that thing back. Terrible things. But obviously, if they're managed in the right way, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
But definitely don't get addicted to them. The doctor will not prescribe you sleeping tablets for a certain amount of time. You know, they only do it for a little time, can't they?
Irani Granny wants to get get Adam, Tony, and Rowley, PD Proudlock, and John Sinclair to sign it. Well, I'll have a word with them. I'll get them on there if you want to challenge them. That's absolutely no problem at all. Jopadoni is all signed up. Nice one. What's this we're talking about with Dele Alli, mate? His interviews on YouTube. Go and have a listen to that if you haven't already, because it's very powerful, very, very powerful. So hopefully we wish Dele Alli all the best, and we hope that he can get back to playing the game he loves and he'll never be able to put the past behind him after what he's been through. However, he's in the right. Well, he says he's in the right place now, Billy, which is important.
What is it, Everton mind? I still hope he's shit, but At least it's
absolutely. I mean, yeah. Look, I think Everton play. Look. I mean, if you were him now, Billy, I mean, where would you be looking as the best team that you could go to? Would it be Poch, even if you weren't playing a lot?
Yeah, I think Poch understands him. I think he's made the major step of coming out and telling people what's happened to him. So it's not as important that he goes, but he knows Poch. Poch knows him. Poch was like a father figure to him. So yeah, but I just don't see Chelsea. Would he get in that side? Would he get? I don't think so. Not, but Poch might think he could and do as well as what he did at Spurs.
Dele Alli at his very best would get in.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't think that there was many sides that Dele Alli wouldn't get into when he's on top of his game. But it's just the fact that it's took such a horrible downward spiral over the time. Yeah, keep an eye out on that one on this channel as well. I'll be doing a sort of revamped version of the video I did. A year and a half, nearly 2 years ago or something. So. Yeah, it's these kind of videos for me to do are very hard to talk about, but I feel like we've had that many messages, Billy, about what the channel's done for people's mental health and stuff like that. You know, if you kind of explain something back that you're in the same boat or you've been in the same boat, and it's tough to do, but it's kind of like anybody. I think it's inspired everybody what Dele has said to try and maybe help other people who are going through it. To say, you know, there is a chance that you can come out the other end and carry on and keep, you know, I didn't think this channel was going to get where it was, you know, but now look at us now, you know, it's incredible when you finally can beat the demons kind of thing. But as well as going to rehab, Billy, I think that was a big decision for him as well, because, you know, you see people trying to battle this in day out, and a lot of people say, oh, yeah, but he's got the money to go into rehab. It's not about the money. You know, it's about the fact that he decided that he had to do something for the sake of him and his family, and went into rehab on his own back for 3 weeks.
And it's the time, you know, it's the time that we're at times that we're in at the minute. I mean, 20 years ago, there's no one on God's earth that you would have been able to do this and get the sympathy and the hearing that he's had. Really, you know, back then it was get on with it. You know, pull your boots up, pull your you know, do whatever you can, but it's a bit cowardly to kind of admit this. But now it is okay to not be okay, and if you are like that, you've got to say it. You've got to help people. If people come up, you know, and expect help from friends, not expect it, but you will get it because people are sympathetic these days. People can see it, and if anyone's in our chat, for instance, is like that, and just DM anyone, DM.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
We'll always be here for anyone. You know, it's a horrible thing to go through. I mean, I struggle with it on a daily basis myself, or used to. But you know, people.
Well, it battles, it niggles at you all the time, doesn't it? Because I mean, you know, you had that incident a couple of months ago, Billy, when you know you messaged me and said, you know, I for some reason I just don't want to host now and stuff like that, because that was anxiety and it never leaves you. But you know, you've bounced back from that and you're loving it again, and it's just it just took a little dip, and everybody does that from time to time, and that's why I think for doing this video again, we'll put it out there, and of course we may do a live show on it because there's a lot of people in our chat who maybe would like to come on and talk about their experiences, and I think doing something like that now that the channel's at the size it is, Billy, might be a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. It's a great subject to kind of get into and to help people, and at the end of the day, what is the channel for? It is to help people, entertain them, or whatever.
Yep.
You know, any kind of help we can give to anyone, we're obviously pleased to do it.
Absolutely. But there you go, guys. That is the first Fantasy Football League show done and dusted. Just a little bit of explanation and maybe looking at my team and looking who Billy Bob is scouting at the minute before he puts his final team in. It's absolutely incredible, the sign-up that we've had for the Fantasy Football League. It really is, but I didn't expect anything less from you guys. It's all about having a bit of fun, you know, and let's be honest, you know, we'll do the show once a week. We'll take the mickey out of people at the bottom, i.e. me and Billy, and then we'll get some guys on from time to time who are playing the game, who are up at the top, to try and give them maybe a bit of advice to us losers at the bottom, which will be very nice for us to hear. So thank you so much for watching. We've had a bit of everything tonight, just talking about obviously Dele Alli and the league as well. But we will be back tomorrow lunchtime with the watch along, Gateshead versus Newcastle United. The show starts at 12:15 p.m. Lunchtime kickoff, of course. And let's hope, it'd be great to get back to doing watch-alongs, won't it? Even though it is just a friendly, just to see the guys out there in the Newcastle colours again. Should be a brilliant atmosphere at the ground as well. I'm sure there's a few YouTube channels going to be there and soaking up the atmosphere there. But we all do things a little bit differently, don't we? So that's the way it will always be. But thank you to all the Super Chatters and new members tonight. Absolutely superb. And listen, have a great Friday night, and we'll see you at lunchtime tomorrow. And then, basically the season gets going again, doesn't it, with all the pre-season friendlies. But until then, we'll see you tomorrow at lunchtime. Good night.
How are the lads and lasses?
Come back and check on some green.